Hey coaches, I was thinking last week, one of the things that I've got going on within my program that I think is rare, I don't think it happens a lot within like kind of basic club swimming, is the individual work that happens within the practice time. And I mean, you've got to work for it. You've got to be attentive to it. You've got to look for it. You've got to actively go after this work with the athletes. You've got to do your basic warm up, and then either within the warm up plan with what you're doing, try to get athletes better at doing whatever it is, or, having an athlete during part of the warm up do something different that they've got to do to work on something specific for them. I think too often we've got practices that happen and the coaches are just kind of standing on the pool deck and watching the athletes warm up, and that's happening for 45 minutes. And then the action begins, and that first 45 minutes is wasted. Maybe it's the first 15 or 20 minutes. Now, don't misunderstand. I mean, for me anyways, I don't do this every day where I'm just all over the pool deck and just working with individual athletes. But I'm watching for it, and I'm doing it. I'm doing it pretty often, and I'm trying to figure out who the athletes are that really need it. I think it does a number of things. I mean, you can really tune somebody up. You can also catch people up to speed if they're behind. Maybe they're new to the group or they're just not as skillful. You can also, I think the second thing, and just as important, you can send a message to everybody on your team that you're all about everybody on the team. And so as you kind of cycle through, you can be picking different athletes, and oftentimes you're picking people in the back of the lane because you're not really getting a chance to work with them as much individually during the training set. Which brings me to another point. The people that are in the front of the lines, you can work with them individually on the training set in different ways. What I do is I take the last 25 splits on a lot of things, or I'll take breaststroke splits in the middle of an IM set, and I'll talk with the athlete that's leading the lane or leading the group about what their splits are. Sometimes you've got 4 or 5 people that are just coming in at the same time, and it's sort of tough to just give one person their splits. But sometimes you've got one person coming in, and then you've got 3 seconds, and then you've got 2 people coming in, and you've got 2 seconds, and then you've got 4 people coming in. So you can talk with the person that's coming in first, and then you've got 3 seconds after they come in, 10 times during the workout, about how you're going to get the breaststroke splits for them, and you want them to descend that during the training set. And what you're looking for is 16s at the end and 17s in the middle off the hand touch on the last 25 of the breaststroke. And you're going to talk with the athlete going into the set, going into the practice, or maybe kind of after one of the repeats, hey, I got your breaststroke splits, I'll let you know. And then you don't have to let anybody else on the team know that you're giving this athlete special attention. They're at the front. They're going to basically be at the front every time. A lot of us have athletes or groups like that. We got one person kind of coming in like that. And so you can utilize your time, that 3 seconds before everybody else comes in, and just say, you could even say this breaststroke split first, and then their time. So sometimes an athlete will be doing a 200 IM, and they'll go a 210, and it's a 17.2 on the breaststroke split. They come in, I click my watch, and I say 17.2, 210.3. And, the athletes that are coming in second and third, they hear 210.3. They don't hear the first thing. So, I also do that with athletes that are at the back of the line. Athletes that, sometimes I've got 1 lane or maybe 2 lanes where an athlete's going 5th. And, sometimes I've got my 2 best breaststrokers on the women's side are going 5th. And so off the hand touch, I can be getting some splits for them. Sometimes we're doing breaststroke stuff. A few weeks back, we were doing a breaststroke set. It was just a preset. We did 6 150s where they focused on fast breaststroke on the third 50, second 50, then the first 50, and they did that twice. And so I got with the athlete that was in the back of the line, and I got her second 25 of all of those 50s. And we talked about having a certain stroke count and sort of descending the pace as she went through the set. So you can, I don't have a lot of bandwidth to do that with everybody, but somebody that's going clearly in the back, I mean, what was happening in that case is I had more than half of my athletes already on the wall done with the thing. And I was able to just kind of like look back, click my watch on the last turn, and get the athlete split. It was coming in kind of like behind everybody else. And then I could, tell her time. I was kind of standing right there on the side of the pool. Or I could wait until everybody pushes off the wall and be like, okay, that one was a 17 flat, keep going with the stroke count. And so you can handle it that way. I mean, if you get splits for people and it's only like 1 or 2 people during the practice, you got to be careful that you're not always doing it with the same person and everybody else knows about it. So you can hide it in these ways. And, if you're cycling through and doing that with everybody at different times, then I think everybody sort of gets it, that everybody's going to get that. So that's one thing that I feel like I've been doing. I kind of noticed last week that I don't know that everybody's doing, and I think it's a game changer for us, because then when we get to the main training sets, we're better. Those athletes in the back of the line are better, and they develop a lot more confidence. So speaking of that, I want to talk about how, these athletes, we've got to feed them confidence even when they're not doing well in practice. We had an athlete this past weekend at our meet swim pretty well. She's new to our team. She's a senior, and I mean, she's so not ready for our training group in terms of some of the work that we do that I've pulled her out of the pool because it's like I've been like on the last one, you're just done because you're gonna get run over like a lot. And I know she doesn't want that, and the people that are leading the lane are just getting to know her, and they don't want to like hurt her. And so it's been something that I've actually done with this athlete, and I've counseled her, and I haven't done that a lot, but she's had to stop and let people around her a lot during the training. And I'm just telling her like, hey, you got to get better at it, no doubt, but you are getting better at it. So let's not worry about it, and just do what you can, and just don't stress out about it. The stuff that you've got to really pay attention to in terms of actually getting faster, like, answering the question, am I ready to race fast, is more of the pace work that we're doing, the active rest training, things like that. It's not the aerobic stuff. The aerobic stuff is going to help that happen, but the aerobic stuff for somebody that swims a 100 and 200 breaststroke, 50 and 100 freestyle, it's not going to impact the race as specifically as the aerobic stuff impacts the race of a 1650 athlete or maybe a 400 IM athlete. So I've been trying to really help her with her confidence, because new kid on the team, can't keep up on a lot of stuff. I mean, she was like, what am I doing? Like this, I'm bad. And, just telling her like, you're not bad. You got to, understand what's important and what's not as important, and keep getting better at everything, but don't worry about it. So she had a great meet this weekend, and it was great to see. Wrote down one more thing that has to do with that. Yeah, so another thing, that we had a guy in one of my training groups who has been leading the group. He's been doing really well with a lot of things. This is in my second training group. This particular guy, he's a senior in high school. He's probably not going to swim in college. He goes 4:55 in the 500 free, but he's like going 5:12 in the 500 free at this meet. We're not suited up or anything like that, but it's still bad. And he just let everybody go. Just like, bye. And, I mean, they just all went away from him during the first 40 seconds of the race. And then he just didn't have the understanding of what he had to do in the race, and what kind of pace he needed to actually put out there at the beginning. So, I mean, that was at the very beginning of the meet, and I could see he was like looking up at the sky and stuff, really frustrated. And I'm just like, hey, let's keep going. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. You just got to get after it. You can't let people go. You just got to go for it. And, visualization does help with that. We have done that once this year with that group, but we've got to do a little bit more of it, and we've got to go to meets where I notice it and I coach it up. So one of the things I realized with him was what I've realized in the past, but it was really like clear with him as we went through the meet, that these kids, they don't want to disappoint us. and they want us to be happy. And we can frame things in certain ways for them, particularly like at the beginning of a swim meet, that helps them get through the meet. You know, we can also ruin it. You know, we could say like, you're not ready. What are you doing? You shouldn't even be here. But, you know, with Oscar, with this boy that I coach, it's like, look, just get better every race. I mean, you know, I think you're better than that, but, you know, it's not a big deal. Like, we're really early in the season, you know. And I actually sent the group a text message at the end of the meet. I'll have to send it to everyone here. I'll put it in the comments so you can read what I wrote. And you can see kind of how I'm framing it for everybody, and try to frame it like that during the meet with this one particular athlete. But, you know, I coach with a coach who saying like, these kids, man, they have such high expectations for things. And, you know, they're like really disappointed. They're in practice suits and they're not going best times and they're like going crazy, you know, in their head. And we're just kind of talking about that, and he's right. And the kids, they have crazy high expectations and they're sort of ridiculous. And some of them, they have no idea what they're talking about. Like if you ask them, like, what kind of pace do you have to hold to do that time? They just like, what are you talking about? I'm talking with an athlete the other day. I'm like, well, you went 139 and 150 backstroke, and you're a 216 backstroker. What do you think you're ready to do? It's just 221? You have no idea. Like, it's like you're a ninth grader, you're pretty smart. Like, come on, you know? So sometimes we've got to really spell it out for them. And one of the ways I spelled it out for the group, and again, I'll send the message to you all, it's like, you know, we've been through about 7 weeks of practice, and we've essentially had 7 endurance freestyle sets, and 7 endurance IM sets, and 7 backstroke sets, 7 kicking sets, etc., right? Compared to when we get to our December meets, we will have had 13 of all those things. And then when we get to our meets in February, we will have had 21 of all those things, which is a lot more than the 7th. You know, we're going to triple our work. It's going to stack. And we've got to be into the stacking. And that's the difference between, you know, like an 11 and 12-year-old kid. They don't really stack. They just, you know, they go to practice, they get better, and they grow. And, you know, their practices, because they haven't done a lot in their life, every one of them that they do is a stack. But at some point, you know, you get to be like age 16. And, well, when you think about it like this, and this is how I put it to them in the text message, 8th grade through 12th grade is 60 months. And to think about it like you're going to do a linear progression, just a straight angle for 60 months, it's a ridiculous thought. If you just graphed it for pretty much everybody in USA Swimming over those 60 months, you're going to get like an up, and then you're going to get a little bit of this, and hopefully you're going to finish on an up, and some people are going to finish on a down. That's just the way it's going to go. And so it's not going to be like this straight line. It's going to sort of hug the line. It's at a point. And so that means that basically, unless you're just a ridiculous person and you think everybody's supposed to do this linear thing, which is what people that are uneducated, like parents, you know, some parents, that's how they think. Unless you're just a ridiculous person, you've got to like reasonably conclude that there's going to be a little bit of this. And so as people are going through kind of the down, they have to kind of understand, well, that's the way that it's supposed to go. And guess what's coming after that? It's the up. It's just, you have to look at the career. They have to look at their career from an aerial point of view and see the whole thing before it actually is done. And if they don't work hard, then, you know, they have to really lie to themselves to think that they're going to eventually come back around and pull everything back up. But if they work hard and they have some kind of self-confidence and they're reasonable thought people, then they're going to conclude like, makes a lot of sense. You can feel it starting to happen now on the way back up. You know, I mean, if they never get a little bump and they never feel like they can come back up with it, then they're screwed, right? But, you know, that's not the way it is. Usually kids can start to feel a little bit of momentum going the right way at a certain point in time. And if they can feel that, then they can be like, okay, here it comes. So I think it's real important as coaches that we're putting it to the athletes like that. We're letting them know, like, It's okay to not be going your best times, and the reason it's okay is because if you're not doing best times, then the best times are coming around the corner. Anyhow, coaches, I hope this all helps, and I hope you guys are all getting ready for a great fall, and let's have a great week of training. See ya.